I became a consultant, and shortly after that I was hired by Murray Pezim, and that's when I moved to Vancouver.
But what were you doing for Pezim? He's a famous character in mining space.
Murray made me the vice president of everything. So I think at one point I was the vice president of 80 companies and writing these MD&A reports, status that you always had to do, and also trying to manage all the properties that were in the companies and find new stuff and evaluate them.
So you had 80 public deals?
I think, well, at the end it was, he had 62, so this is, I was at the last end of Murray's lifetime and his activities on Howe Street. So we had 62 of his own, and then he had six or eight that his buddies and friends also had under management. And my job was to try to keep them straight.
And were you successful at that?
As much as you could, yeah.
Can you just tell us a little bit about the history of Klondike's ground?
Klondike Gold owns the core of the historic gold rush placer-producing creeks. So, and again, it's been marketed for a long time, and I try not to market it this way, but it's the biggest gold geochemical anomaly on the planet. There's 20 million ounces of gold come from these creeks.
At surface?
At surface, out of the river gravels. And academic studies have shown that gold is not coming from very far. But it's been elusive as to where it comes from. Klondike Gold owns the core of the old Klondike gold fields. It was prospected the gold in the creeks was found in 1896, and there was a bedrock prospecting effort in 1900 to 1910 because all the creeks were staked. So the guys were already there. The ones that stayed in the woods went around and did ridgetop prospecting, and they found two bedrock gold-bearing quartz veins and turned them into excavations, mines. One's the Lone Star Mine, the other is Violet, which Klondike Gold also have. And since then, since 1912, nobody's really found much of any significance.
So I had owned a few shares in Klondike Gold, the old company, thinking the project was interesting and wanted to tell the story, and that turned out to be a disaster. And so the money we thought was going to the ground ended up going to management, and we were looking who's gonna run this thing, and somebody said, you guys got to talk to Peter, because he just ran this incredible program at Ethos, and it didn't have the results they wanted, but he knows that space better than anybody. And so we were lucky to meet Peter, and not that I'm a big player in that company, I'm a small shareholder, but you've since come on and really cleaned house, and what has the cleanup been like, and where are you now?
It's been 11 months of cleaning up, and there was 3 months of due diligence prior to actually taking the effort on. The due diligence itself, I really like it. What was attractive to me was the geology. There is potential there. Looking at the exploration efforts that have gone before, I think those exploration efforts have been casual and piecemeal and a large part academic oriented. They're not exploration oriented. They're not using exploration models that you can use to drive towards a deposit. And so there's an opportunity. Whether Mother Nature cooperates at the end of the day, I don't know, but I think there's things to go and test. With the summer of corporate cleanup, we also had a very small crew, me included. I was running the company out of Dawson and looking at the rocks. And really it was the first look at that area that I'd had. And the question is, all this gold has been found. Nobody's ever discovered anything significant there. Is there a real exploration target? And I had ideas going in, and I wanted to test them to see if they were real. It's orogenic gold model. It's a standard model for gold. Why has nobody ever really tested it from an exploration point of view? So we concentrated on one particular area, El Dorado Creek. It's the richest creek that produced gold in the Klondike, and looked at the bedrock there, and outcrops are really, really rare. So it's really difficult to get a handle on the geology, but there are some, and there are enough to see. And on a predictive model, I thought, well, there were particular areas where there would be more gold in bedrock than others. And everywhere we went where we thought there'd be lots of gold, we found it. So the results of that, we took 300 or 400 rock samples, submitted them for assay not long ago, and the results are trickling in, so there's going to be news releases in the new year. But I guess in summary, before I got involved, there were 4 documented occurrences of gold, visible gold in bedrock on the Klondike gold properties after 30 odd years of exploration. And we found another 40 in a couple of weeks, basically. And that, in a nutshell, is why I'm way more comfortable now, even past the model stage. I know there's gold in bedrock. Now you have to put all the pieces together of where can we go to find tonnage, where do we go to find grade, but there's visible gold there in quartz veins that have the physical attributes that can make tons.
So what will exploration next year be like?
More of the same, more prospecting. We're going to see every outcrop. We're going to go back and look at all the placer cuts and also start to do geophysics. We need some detailed geophysics to determine where all the structures are. And just in general, that's what's controlling the gold.
So could you just sum up, like, why are you excited about this property?
Just in general, from a macroeconomic scale, the world has just written off about, I don't know, $40 billion worth of mining projects that were a gram over big widths. And the majors have been exploring for the last 2 decades for big deposits that have that low-grade characteristic. And in part, I've not really been comfortable ever with that grade model, because if you lower the grade just a bit, 1 gram isn't economic today. The Klondike goldfields, none of that is really the target. The target in the Klondike goldfields are super high-grade quartz veins. And I think the problem has always been trying to find the situation where you can get tonnage. But the grade of the quartz veins themselves, it's 1 ounce to multiples of ounces to really high ounces. There's idiotically high grade, and that makes economics really easy. I mean, you have to find enough of it, but you don't really need a lot.